a former Jiu-Jitsu champion, a late-night encounter, and two cops who didn't know who they were messing with. This woman didn't need to fight. She just showed them who's boss. Watch now. Night in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, always carries a quiet hum, like the deep sigh of the old oak trees lining the roads. The scent of tree sap, gasoline, and moisture from the Mississippi River mingles in the air, weaving through the empty streets. Under the dim yellow streetlights, the tall silhouette of Lena Porter moves slowly but steadily, a brown-skinned woman nearing 40, walking with the calm of someone well acquainted with storms. She had just finished her Thursday night self-defense class at the community center off Plank Road. The class wasn't large, but to Lena, numbers had never mattered. The women who came to her weren't there to learn how to fight. They came to reclaim something that had been taken: belief in themselves. Some were single mothers, some survivors of abuse. Lena never promised to protect anyone, but she taught them how to stand upright, clench their fists, and not bow their heads. She had once been one of them. Lena had once made a name for herself in American sports, winning championship titles in Jiu-Jitsu. Her face had graced sports channels, magazine covers, and campaigns championing female strength. But a single misstep during the finals in Denver tore a ligament in her left knee. People stopped saying her name after that. An era of triumph had ended in silence. Now, Lena lived on the second floor above a used bookstore on North Acadian. A small apartment filled with greenery and the scent of morning coffee. A quiet, unassuming life, just like the steps she was taking through the night. Tonight, she wore a long black knit dress that fell past her knees, with a pair of worn white sneakers. The fabric tote slung over her shoulder was heavy with gloves and protective pads. The neighborhood she walked through wasn't exactly safe, but it was her territory. She knew every crack in the sidewalk, every leaning tree, every iron door that creaked when the wind passed through. And then, like a sixth sense, she felt it, the subtle shift in the air, a breath held too long, an uninvited presence, the slow roll of tires behind her. No horn, no lights, just a patrol car. And Lena knew the past was about to knock again. The patrol car crept closer, its tires hissing softly over the damp asphalt. Lena didn't turn her head, but every muscle in her body was drawn taut like a bowstring. She wasn't afraid. Fear was a stranger to someone who had once fallen to the mat in front of thousands. But she was cautious. As cautious as every black woman who had learned how to survive in the American South. "Good evening, ma'am." A voice called from the car window, stretching the words out as if toying with her. A southern drawl laced with alcohol, and a kind of power that no one dare question. "Anyone ever tell you this isn't the kind of neighborhood for a lady to walk alone at this hour?" Lena kept her step steady. Not faster, not slower. The engine purred lightly, and the car inched closer, slow as a shadow. Black dress, walking alone, carrying a bag like that. "You look like you're asking for something." Another voice joined in, this one deeper, colder. Lena stopped at the streetlight corner, where the glow was just enough to cast her shadow long across the ground. She knew this game. She had seen it play out again and again, on the news and the papers, even in the whispered stories shared after class by her students. But this wasn't a story. This was a real night, and it was hers. The passenger side door swung open. A young officer, around 25, stepped out, a cold stare hidden behind a half-smile. He walked toward her, hands in his pockets, like he owned the street. "You're not that fighter lady from TV, are you?" he asked, tilting his head, examining her. "Didn't expect to run into you here. I remember seeing you drop a guy twice your size on ESPN." He laughed, but there was no admiration in it, only mockery. "So what do you kick now?" "Your ex-boyfriend's front door." His voice turned crude, and then, with a motion as sharp as a cut across the night, he reached out and tugged the hem of her dress just slightly upward, just enough to humiliate, not enough to leave a mark. Laughter erupted from the patrol car behind him, shattering the quiet like broken glass. Lena stood still, not shocked, just choosing her moment. A chill ran down her spine, but her heartbeat stayed steady, like those final seconds before the bell rang in the ring. Only this time, she didn't step into the ring. The fight had come to her. She didn't turn her head. She remained there on the empty sidewalk, beneath the dim yellow streetlight, her black dress pulled just slightly off-center. No one else was on the street. No sound but the dumb laughter still echoing from the squad car. But inside her, what surged wasn't rage, it was control. The kind of control known only to those who've touched glory, fallen hard, and still learned how to stand again. She turned slowly. The young officer, Jacker, as the other one had called him, was still smirking, but that smirk faltered as Lena took a single step toward him. She said nothing. Her eyes did all the speaking. "Hey, don't get all tense," Jacker said, backing up half a step, raised his hands in a half-joking, half-defensive gesture. "I was just, making conversation." Lena tilted her head, squinted, and then, in a flash of motion, she grabbed his wrist and twisted it sharply behind his back. He cried out, bent forward as if bowing to the very soil of Louisiana. What the hell are you doing?" "Let me reintroduce myself," Lena whispered, leaning in close to his ear. "My name is Lena Porter. Not that fighter lady from back in the day. Not sweetheart. Not ma'am. Get it right." At that moment, the other officer jumped out of the squad car, fumbling with his radio. "Let him go. You're—" Lena released Jacker like dropping an old hand towel. He stumbled back, face flushed red, clutching his twisted wrist. The second cop lunged toward her, but Lena had already turned, using the momentum of the motion to deliver a low kick to his side. Light, but with just enough force to knock him off balance and send him crashing into the open car door. That moment, the two officers stumbling, one gasping for breath, the other trying not to fall, unfolded before anyone could reach for a weapon or shout a command. Lena stood there, dressed still perfectly in place, her face devoid of anger, only calm and cold like the river wind off the Mississippi. "Free lesson," she said. "Next time you want to mess with someone, pick a woman who hasn't trained 15 years in Taekwondo." Then she turned her back and walked away. No one stopped her. No one dared. And that, in a damp southern night, was the most poetic part of all. Lena Porter made it back to her small apartment on the second floor above a used bookstore called Bayou Books and Vinyl. The wooden stairs creaked under each step, but she didn't rush. The night had settled back into stillness, and in her mind, everything was replaying like a scene in slow motion. She slipped off her worn sneakers, set her training bag down, and turned on the coffee machine. The familiar hiss greeted her like an old friend. She poured a full mug and sank into the armchair by the window. The streetlight cast a soft glow through the white curtain, like a gentle breath against the night. She pulled out her phone. A message from Maya, her fellow instructor at the community center, was waiting. "You okay tonight? Did you get home safe? Seemed kind of late." Lena stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back. "All good. Just taught 3 guys a free lesson on reflexes." Not even 30 seconds later, Maya called. "Oh, Lord. Don't tell me you laid someone out again?" Lena laughed. Not quite laid out. More like a friendly reminder about boundaries in Newton's third law. This time it was cops, wasn't it? "Yeah, but don't worry. No scratches, no blood, no charges. Just a few egos with bruises." Maya sighed softly. "Lena, I'm so damn proud of you, I really am. But sometimes I wish you lived somewhere with less testosterone. You know I love Baton Rouge. Great food, warm enough to wear dresses year-round, and plenty of real-life lessons for men who think black women don't push back." "Right," Maya chuckled. "But next time you throw hands, please wear a body cam. I want to make a meme out of it." Lena let out a genuine laugh. Her first since leaving the street. She took a sip of her coffee, hot and biting, sharp enough to jolt her wide awake. Outside, the city continued to breathe, spinning on as it always did. But Lena knew, somewhere in some office, 3 men were probably sitting around asking themselves, who the hell was she? And Lena? She just shook her head and thought, you haven't even begun to understand. The next morning, inside the break room at the 4th District Police Precinct in Baton Rouge, the air felt like the moment before a thunderstorm. The coffee machine hummed quietly in the corner, but no one got up to pour a cup. Instead, The officers' eyes were locked on keyboards, phones, or lukewarm coffee cups gripped tightly in their hands. Officer Jared Monroe, 28, better known for his bad jokes than his policing skills, wasn't smiling this morning. Jacker Whitford sat beside him, tapping his foot on the floor like there was a marching band playing inside his skull. And Malik Hale sat stiffly, hands clasped together like he was deep in prayer. All three had been in a patrol car the previous night, and now there was no hiding the tension thickening around them, a throat clear at the doorway. Lieutenant Paula Williams, a black woman with eyes sharp as a pencil blade, stepped into the room and tossed a thin file onto the center table. "You boys know there's a security camera at the laundromat on that corner, right?" she asked, her voice calm as a cold wind, but cold enough to freeze the entire room. Jared pressed his lips together. "We weren't exactly sure." Paula nodded. "Well, it sent a pretty impressive little clip to Internal Affairs this morning. A woman in a black dress, gym bag over her shoulder, taking down 2 full-grown officers in under 8 seconds. Thought I was watching a damn action movie at first." Jacker forced a smile. "She's pretty strong." Paula stepped closer, leaning both hands on the table. "She's a former Taekwondo champion, featured on ESPN. What you three got last night was a free training session from a legend, and you didn't even recognize her." Malik stammered. "We were just joking around. Didn't mean any harm." "Oh, it was a joke?" Paula raised an eyebrow. "A joke that just got our department caught on camera. Looking like idiots? You think this is just going to blow over?" She turned and walked toward the door, her last words echoing in the silence. "Good luck explaining that joke to the federal inspector." The room fell quiet. Finally, Jacker exhaled. "We picked the wrong woman to mess with." That afternoon, at the small cafe on the corner of Florida Street, what locals like to jokingly call the city's unofficial waiting room, Lena Porter sat quietly in an old iron chair, sipping on a strong cold brew. Her oversized sunglasses covered nearly half her face, and her headphones weren't playing any music. They were just there to make people think she wasn't paying attention to the world around her. But in truth, she heard everything. 2 tables to her left, a group of college students were whispering excitedly. "Did you see the clip?" One asked, eyes wide like they just spotted a real-life superhero. "That woman, she's like Black Widow in real life." No. Another chimed in. "She doesn't need a skin-tight suit or CGI. She did that in a cotton dress and sneakers." A laugh rang out from the table behind Lena, where 2 middle-aged men were playing dominoes and gossiping like they ran their own underground news wire. "From now on, cops in this town better take Remedial 101. Don't mess with any woman over 5 feet 10 inches carrying a gym bag." Lena smiled faintly. Her phone buzzed. A message from Rosie, a former student at the community center. "Was that you last night, miss? I saw what people are saying online. You're a legend." Lena stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Not a legend, just someone who knows when not to stay silent." And just then, a tall young man approached her table, wearing a tucked-in dress shirt and holding a large envelope. "Ms. Porter?" he asked gently. "I'm a reporter from the Baton Rouge Weekly. We're not trying to run a sensational story. We just want to tell it right. Could I have a few minutes of your time?" Lena looked up at him through her sunglasses. 1 second, 2 seconds. Then she shook her head gently. "I don't need my story told," she said. "They'll tell it to each other. I just need to keep walking toward my own." And with that, she stood, left a nearly empty coffee glass behind, and walked away, as if the entire world had become nothing more than the music of her own footsteps. After that night, Lena Porter became the center of unwanted attention. Curious eyes, whispered comments behind her back. Everything was suddenly directed at her. But what caught her attention more than any of that was the unsettling silence from the 4th District Police Department of Baton Rouge. One morning, as Lena was enjoying her coffee at the familiar cafe on Broughton Street, a man approached her table. He was in plain clothes, but his posture and the furtive glance he gave her couldn't hide the fact that he was a cop. "Ms. Porter?" he asked quietly. Lena looked up, maintaining her calm demeanor. "I'm Malik Hale." He introduced himself, his voice tense. I need to talk to you about what happened that day. Could we step outside for a moment? Lena nodded slightly and followed him out of the cafe. They stood on the sidewalk, where few people were passing by. I want to apologize for the actions of my colleagues, Malik started, avoiding Lena's gaze. What they did to you was unacceptable. I don't know what they were thinking. Lena remained silent, waiting for him to continue. The incident has been reported to higher-ups, Malik continued. There is an internal investigation underway. But I think you should know that not everyone in the department agrees with that behavior. Lena looked him straight in the eyes. So, what do you want to do with this information, Officer Malik? I just think you should know that there are people in the department who want to stand for justice, he said, his voice filled with regret. Lena gave a small nod. Thank you for telling me. Malik walked away, leaving Lena standing there, thinking about what she'd just heard. In the days that followed, news of the police officers' misconduct spread throughout Baton Rouge. Local media began reporting on the internal investigation and the allegations against the officers involved. The community expressed outrage and demanded justice for Lena. One afternoon, as Lena was on her way home, she noticed a group of people gathered outside the 4th District Police Department in Baton Rouge. They were holding signs and chanting slogans demanding transparency and accountability from the police. Lena stopped and observed from a distance. She didn't want to be the center of attention, but her heart swelled with emotion as she saw the community rise up for justice. In the following weeks, the internal investigation concluded with the result. 2 officers directly involved in the incident were suspended and faced criminal charges for misconduct and abuse of power. Officer Malik, who had approached Lena, was cleared of any wrongdoing after cooperating with the investigation and testifying against his colleagues. This incident became a significant lesson for the 4th District Police Department in Baton Rouge and the entire community about the importance of maintaining professional ethics and accountability. Lena continued her teaching, but with a stronger belief that standing up against injustice was not just a right, but a responsibility for everyone. News of the 2 police officers' suspension spread. Some celebrated. Others remained silent. But the way people looked at Lena as she walked through the streets had changed. No longer was there suspicion, but respect. A silent acknowledgement that she had done what many only dare to think about. That afternoon, during her class at the community center, Lena finished the lesson earlier than usual. She called the class to sit in a circle and began to tell a story. It wasn't about techniques or competition, but about silence and the value of breaking it at the right moment. Silence is a weapon, she said, her eyes scanning the attentive faces. It can protect you, but it can also bind you. And sometimes, standing up doesn't require a shout. All you need is to not bow your head. A young girl in the front row hesitantly raised her hand. Ms. Lena, I'm scared. If I resist, they'll retaliate. I'm not as strong as you. Lena smiled gently but firmly. Strength is in your fists. It's in knowing your worth and not letting anyone take that from you. You don't need to hit anyone to win. As long as you don't back down, you've already won. The class fell silent for a moment, and then someone began to clap. Soon, the entire room erupted in applause. Not loud, but enough for Lena to understand that her lesson had touched them deeply. And perhaps that was a real victory. One autumn morning, the sky was clear, and the breeze gently blew from the direction of the river. Lena Porter, still walking at her usual slow pace, with her crossbody bag and worn sneakers, crossed the old intersection where everything had happened, the place where, just months ago, 3 officers thought they could crush a woman's dignity with nothing more than a degrading joke. They didn't know that the person they targeted wasn't a victim, but someone who had learned how to stand up without shouting. The camera was still on the streetlight at the corner. Fresh paint covered the section of sidewalk where she had once been insulted, but time doesn't erase memories. And Lena wouldn't let it be forgotten, not for revenge, but for remembrance. Today, at City Hall, a special meeting was taking place. The topic, reforming law enforcement culture and community response. In the quiet room, a community representative stood up, a middle-aged black woman, her hair neatly tied up, eyes directed at the row of seats behind her, where Lena was sitting silently. We don't ask for privileges, the woman said. "We asked to be treated like human beings." Lena didn't speak that day. She didn't need to. The name Lena Porter was now mentioned in the Baton Rouge 4th District Police Department's Behavioral Reform Report and in emotional training courses for new officers. A woman with steady eyes and decisive action had made the whole system stop and think. That evening, when Lena returned home, she received a letter, not from the media, not from a lawyer, but from a 15-year-old girl at the community center. "Ms. Lena," the small, shaky handwriting read, "I used to think I was invisible, but because of you, I know. Maybe I'm not seen right away, but that doesn't mean I don't exist. I'm learning martial arts, not to fight anyone, but to learn how to walk as if I have the right to." Lena placed a letter on the table next to a window. Outside, the street lights flickered on. The city continued to live, continued to whisper in the dark. But somewhere, a new generation was learning how to stand firm, because someone had walked before them and never backed down.